Right now at 4 o'clock, Denver is bracing for a big spring snowstorm. Yes, don't let this weather fool you. Clouds kicked up over the city today, a little wind. Our weather impact team is tracking the timing of heavy rain and even snow over the next 2 days. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Sam Shocker in for Tom Green. Let's take a live look outside. Okay, no rain yet, but it is looking a little bit gloomy. So let's hear from our chief meteorologist, Kathy Sabin. Kathy, when can we expect some of this rain to fall?
It's interesting, Sam, because the rain is falling south of Denver, but as the evening drive gets underway, so far so good in the city. I still think we're going to see rain before too much longer here, but tomorrow's really the day for the big rain event in Denver and snow event in the mountains. Hard to believe, but May, yes, we can see heavy snow in the mountains and foothills, and that's exactly what we have in the forecast. Temperatures have cooled back, and that wind today was ferocious. You could just tell something was coming in. After sunshine and 80 yesterday, even though we were in the 60s today, this wind going to 40 and 50 miles per hour out of the south and southeast makes it feel a whole lot colder and just, I don't know, it's just kind of nasty out there. And this is the big storm system winding its way over the Four Corners area, pushing these shower bands up from the south. A little bit of snow way up high, 10,000 feet, a little thunder, a little bit of lightning, and a few showers around Castle Rock and Ponderosa Park. But it is the mountain areas that will be seeing that heavier snow. The areas in red, 12 to 22 inches of snow forecast. And tonight in Denver, we have a little push of rain coming in between 6 and 8, a little overnight break, and then tomorrow is the main event. I heard Chris Bianchi say this morning the meat and potatoes is coming tomorrow. All day long, you're going to need a jacket, you're going to need an umbrella, and if you're above about 7,000 feet, you are going to need a shovel. And our temperatures are trending quite cool as we move through the next few hours, and your weather headlines do include that spring storm. It's here. Heavy rain, we're going to talk about it, and heavy snow. How much? I'll let you know just ahead.
Denver police now say 4 people were injured in a shooting last night in Denver's Lodo neighborhood. This happened after 9 o'clock near 19th and Market Street. 3 people were taken to the hospital, and today we learned a 4th person took themselves to the hospital after getting grazed. Denver police told us the injuries are non-life-threatening. We don't know any other information about a possible suspect. You may remember, though, in 2023 in that same block, 5 people were shot at Whiskey Row. An elected official who faces felony charges for shooting a teenager in the face may soon lose his seat on a town council.
We've been covering the criminal case of Brent Metz of Mountain View, and now he's addressing the incident in his own words as a recall effort ramps up. So for more on what is happening in the small town of Mountain View and the town councilor, here's investigative reporter Jeremy Hohola with more.
Yeah, Mountain View is a really tiny town right in the middle of the Denver metro area. Population 500 people, small town, but within its borders, some big drama. From the looks of it, Mountain View exudes a quaint, quiet neighborhood here along the west side of Sheridan Boulevard. It's not a neighborhood, though. It's actually a tiny town, 12 blocks small, with its own town hall. The big historic Arby's hat is one sign you're driving through it, but other signs here have been appearing over the last few weeks. The few hundred voters here will soon decide if town councilor Brent Metz should be recalled.
So when somebody that we trust to represent us has been part of something like this, a lot of people were really disturbed by this.
Mountain View resident Melinda Plemmel and former Mayor Jeff Kitty.
And to me, it's just not a good representation of Mountain View.
Are leading the recall effort against Metz, who faces 4 felony charges for shooting a 17-year-old boy on his property in Conifer last September. The teenager survived a bullet wound to the face after seeking to take homecoming photos on Metz's property. On the ballot for his recall, Metz was given the chance to write out a statement in which he says it was an unintentional discharge of a firearm. He says the media coverage of the shooting has not been accurate and says he's not guilty of the charges.
When you are pointing fingers everywhere outside of yourself, that does raise alarms, and it is we do question that. Why are you not taking the responsibility of your actions?
When you got somebody that makes a decision like this, whether it be an accident or the initial of drawing a gun, that to me in the situation doesn't merit it.
We reached out to Metz for an interview, but he did not respond. A tiny town with a big vote coming up on May 20th.
If it would have been me, I would have resigned.
And when something like this happens, that doesn't really reflect who we are as a community.
And Melinda Plemmel there disclosed to us her wife is also on the town council, but insists her wife had nothing to do with this recall effort. In the meantime, Metz has a court date in June. Last month, his attorney told a judge they are trying to work out a settlement deal with prosecutors. So we'll see what happens on May 20th during the election. Back to you, Sam.
Yep, just a few weeks away. Yep. Jeremy, thank you.
Now to Rome and the Vatican. This is a live look at St. Peter's Square. Final preparations are underway ahead of the conclave to elect the new leader of the Catholic Church. The ancient and highly secretive process to choose a new pope starts in just 2 days. This morning, crews installed the red curtain on St. Peter's Basilica. This is the balcony the new pope will be introduced from to the crowds in St. Peter's Square. Could be a long process before we actually see that happen.
I know more than 100 men need to unanimously decide on the next pope. Jay Gray joins us from Vatican City with a closer look at the process and the men who make that decision.
Well, you can feel it. It's a palpable feeling of excitement, of anticipation ahead of the conclave to elect the next pope. And take a look, adding to all of that excitement, this morning crews put the huge red curtains on the doors on the front of St. Peter's Basilica, the second level there. That balcony is where the Pope will walk out for the first time after being elected, addressing the world as the new leader of the Catholic faith. You know, it's been just over a week since the funeral for Pope Francis, and that time's been filled with meetings, with private discussions, prayer. 133 Catholic cardinals, a vast majority of those, 80%, appointed by Francis. They're going to come together behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel Wednesday to elect the new Pope here. If there's any tug of war, if there's any sticking point when it comes to the conclave behind the locked doors of that chapel, it will be over whether the church continues to follow the path established by Pope Francis, or if the conservative faction of the Catholic faith brings the church back toward a more traditional following of the ancient laws of the church. And so it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. What we do know is that we won't know who that leader is. It's a very private process. We won't know until we see white smoke from the Sistine Chapel announcing that there has been a decision. The small chimney that will be used was placed on top of the chapel over the weekend. Of course, again, that smoke will tell us who the new pope is, and it's an ominous task that these cardinals have, choosing someone from within their ranks to lead what is the largest Christian denomination in the world with more than 1.4 billion members. That's the latest from here at the Vatican. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
And today, Governor Jared Polis announced a historic partnership with Union Pacific that will eventually give Coloradans easy access to the mountains. So this new 25-year agreement will ensure goods can make it through Moffett Tunnel while opening up more opportunities for Coloradans to access places like Granby, Winter Park, Steamboat Springs, and Craig. It's all part of a broader effort to develop a passenger rail in Colorado, something Governor Polis says there's been a demand for.
And we've seen, of course, the amazing success of the Winter Park ski train. We know that demand is there, 30,000 more tickets this year alone. And we know that there's also vast potential for summer access to Rocky Mountain National Park from the west.
Polis says the full year-round service to Granby won't be completed until next year. Eventually, a line to Steamboat Springs and Craig will follow.
Here's a live look at our nation's capital tonight. Major sports announcement coming out of D.C. today. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell visited the Oval Office for the big reveal. The NFL says the draft will take place on the National Mall in 2 years. That would be the 2027 draft. The draft brings in thousands of people. Just a week ago, more than 600,000 showed up in Green Bay. They were so excited to have the draft. Next year, the draft will be in Pittsburgh and then in D.C. in 2027. The mall's got plenty of room.